Okay, ladies and gentlemen, another amazing episode of What We Missed. And One Piece chapter 1097 was a marvel, but let's do this with a twist this time. We're gonna go back to One Piece chapter 1096, and hold on, this is pretty important, and I even missed this in my Missed This video. So, how could you miss this? I'll be here all week.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, in One Piece chapter 1096, there's something I gotta point out because it's pretty damn important because this confirms that Shanks was in God Valley. Do you understand? This confirms that Shanks was in God Valley. I know. Brago, we already knew that. But I'm talking about it's pointed out in a chapter. Hear me out. In chapter 1096, most of us read various translations, but the translation we read, it did not give us the exact thing that Garling said. And even still, I think it was interpreted the wrong way. Actually, not I think, I know. Hear this out. In chapter 1096 on page 1, one translation has it as you pests can just sit back and watch. And this is Garling, and we're assuming he's talking to the other families or the other God Knights, depending on how you look at it. In the Viz translation, Garling is saying, watch this, children. And I'm just thinking he's talking about this lady who's running with her kid and that he's about to slaughter these people. Actually, no, we were wrong. According to Sandman AP, our resident translator corrects the Viz numerous times. He asked the question, what do you think about Garling's line, watch this, children? Is he talking about his own children, or perhaps Shanks has a brother or sister? The sound effect, whatever that is usually used to express people shouting. So one is people shouting in the background that we now know, and two, he's addressing children. But again, it could refer to him slaughtering these kids. Someone even asked Sandman that question. Sandman responds and says, no, Garling and the specific kanji that he used, it sounds a lot more respectful than another specific one that is usually used to refer to kids rudely. And again, according to Sandman, the Japanese audience is actually considering Garling to be referring to his own children. So guys, that is a major deal lost in translation, that Garling is not only talking to Shanks, we presume, but multiple children, which builds the theory of Shanks having somewhat of a little brother or twin brother that we see at the front of the silhouette when Dragon talks about him. This is major, and I could not start this video without talking about this. Now, back to regularly scheduled programming. This is going to start off a bit differently, but I'm going to start off with an SBS. And this is the question. Greetings, Odachi. Appearing in SBS is like a dream for me. Anyway, I have tons of questions I want to ask, but here's the one I'm most curious about. No doubt about it. Please tell me the ages and heights of the rookies. Super rookies. I'll be waiting until the end of time. Oda answers, okay, this is how they were 2 years ago. Just add 2 years to those who've reappeared in the present, and go ahead and assume that their heights haven't changed. Because of her ability, Bonney's age is just an estimation. So Uruj 45, Apu 29, Drake 31, Hawkins 29, Kid 21, Killer 25. Killer being older than Kid makes sense. It's something that I didn't consider, but him being older makes sense. Law 24, Bonney 22, and Capone 40. So again, Bonney's age is just an estimation. Why the heck would Oda say that? He's never said that about anybody else. But of course, because of her ability, he's just estimating. In the recent chapter of One Piece, we went through a span from 30 years to 14 years and no mention or inclination or hints of Bonney. And I gotta point out, Kuma does not seem like the type to be clapping cheeks, okay? So I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Kuma is not Bonney's biological dad. And I'm gonna prove it here to you guys. Don't be alarmed. I love Ginny, obviously. I love Kuma. We adore Bonney. He's just not her dad. But let's go down the list. Again, we've gone through multiple different years, and Kuma, based on everything he's doing, he's a pastor. He does not seem to be the type to engage in those activities, especially being unmarried. And Ginny, how she was talking about Kuma, seemed like she hadn't seen him in a long time. But Brock, that doesn't prove anything. Maybe they had Bonney in between. Okay, well, let's go to Bonney. There's a lot out there about Bonney that we have to somewhat piece together, but the main thing is that Bonney is not Kuma's daughter, or Bonney is a clone, or Bonnie's not the age that we think she is. And based off of Oda's SBS question, I think it's confirmed Bonney is not actually the age we think she is. First thing, is she the Queen Dowager? Second thing, when we saw her in the Eddie, she looked like she was a kid. Third thing, what the heck was Akainu talking about when he said chills ran down his spine when she left the government? What? There are a few things I'm going to point out to prove that Bonney isn't actually Kuma's daughter. The first thing, which isn't necessarily concrete proof, but their blood types. Bonnie's blood type is F, Kuma's blood type is X. Yes, she could have her mother's blood type, but that's just another difference between them. Secondly, we know for Buccaneers, they are persecuted just from blood running in their veins. Bonney wasn't persecuted. It seemed like Bonney was heralded, if not cherished, because she was being kept by the world government. Akainu himself said that. It doesn't feel like she's being tortured in that way, but she was being kept for a specific reason. The next thing, Bonney, in a specific panel when she's battling against Vegapunk, used an attack called Distorted future. You may say, Brago, oh, okay, distorted future, what does that mean? Okay, in distorted future, Bonney turns bulky, almost like a buccaneer, and gets physically stronger. What does this mean? I think implied here is that distorted future is an attack Bonney created to mimic herself if she was a buccaneer, meaning in a different life, if Kuma was her biological father, a distorted future, one may say, she's a buccaneer and she has access to those abilities. I think this is extremely damning in regards to Kuma being her biological dad. We're 14 years before the current story, deep into Kuma's backstory, no hint of Bonney, no mention of Bonney. If we go back through Egghead, you see this panel here where Bonnie's thinking back to more than likely her talking about Kuma and Kuma responding, saying, will he come and free me too? And Kuma responds saying, of course. More than likely Kuma's talking to Bonney about Nika, which implies that they were both captured. This somewhat feels like Kuma met Bonney in jail or in captivity, and not like Kuma is her actual father, but somehow he adopted her. There's also dialogue about Bonney being Ginny and that Kuma had to make a decision. He gave himself up, and to save Bonney, he had to wipe her memories. There's so much speculation out there. We need more before we can say Bonney is Ginny. There's even a theory that Bonney was forced to eat the age fruit for celestial dragon fun, and because of that, she de-aged and she lost her memories, and she does not know that she is Ginny. It does present an interesting scenario that Ginny is Bonney and Kuma raising Bonney as his own daughter. Here's what I think. I think Bonney is a child similar to Ginny that she risked her life to save. And because of her, Kuma then carried on her will and did anything to save that girl that Ginny died to save. It's almost like John Wick. The dog wasn't related to John, but the dog was a memento from his dead wife. So therefore, if anything happens to the dog, you're disrespecting my wife's memory. I think Bonney could be that. We just don't have enough yet to say Bonnie's actually Ginny. Now, I don't want to rule out that Bonney could have some of Ginny's DNA if she is indeed a clone, and I think all the possibilities are still there. Nothing can be ruled out at this point because of all the information that's still being left out of this story. One thing we do know is that Kuma at some point sacrificed himself and gave himself to the world government, seemingly at Dragon's request, but it seems like, to me, based on the story, and then they decided to take advantage of it, it could be Ginny or Bonney that was at risk, and Kuma sacrificed himself, because we saw Kuma and Bonney in Egghead, meaning he was going there and traveling back and forth with Vegapunk, and so therefore dealing with Saturn, the admirals are seeing him, and there's also something to the fact that Bonney could have something to do with the Gorosei, or maybe the previous user of the age fruit. Either way, Kuma sacrificed himself, and it had to be for a major reason other than the fact that they wanted to screw over the world government. It's deeper than that, and this previous chapter is proving that. I will be dropping a timeline video going through Dragon, Kuma's, and Bonnie's backstory and everything we've gotten to bring these things together to have them make more sense, but a few more things we probably missed in the chapter. The similarities between the Sorbet Kingdom and the Goa Kingdom. In the Goa Kingdom, they kicked people out and cast them into Grey Terminal, and they were going to kill everyone in the Grey Terminal when they had inspection coming. At the end of the day, these nobles, they can kick people out or separate their territory to make it more appeasing to the Celestial Dragons, and everything, of course, is meant to keep the Celestial Dragons happy. And so I do appreciate more insight with that, showing all the things that happened in Goa Kingdom and Grey Terminal is happening all over the One Piece world. The next thing that I want to point out is Kuma. How did he become a tyrant? How can we say Kuma's a tyrant based on the man that he is? Seeing what Kuma was able to do for these people by expelling all of their pain, then going in and experiencing it for himself. Could Kuma have been labeled a tyrant because people thought he killed all of his subjects, but actually he sent them away? Is that crazy? One thing Kuma asked before he sent everyone away was like, hey, where would you like to go? Would that be crazy if he used that on every subject, every citizen there, so that they would not be persecuted, saying, hey, I killed all of them because they were not paying tribute, and therefore to everyone else he's labeled the tyrant king? I don't think that's that crazy. There are a few missing things here in this timeline. Jay knows about Bonney, Kizaru knows about Bonney, Akainu knows about Bonney. Bonney is not just a regular person. She seems to be very important that all these higher ups know about her. What is this thing? The clone theory is very much still in effect. Give me some time, I'll get it together for you guys, but these are some things we missed. Last chapter and this chapter. What do you think about Ginny at this point? Is she Bonney? Is Bonney a clone? Or have we been bamboozled? Oda is at it again.